Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I want to do a quick technology check just to make sure. Can everybody hear me okay? We're going to go ahead and start with a quick poll while we're checking out the technology and everything. Just a quick little poll just to kind of see where everybody's from. I'm going to go ahead and launch it right now. Also kind of curious, how did you hear about Trio? So we're going to go ahead and launch this here. Hopefully everybody's seeing that. Looks like there's about 20 people in the room right now, but we're expecting probably twice as many as that. Now, I don't want to keep you folks waiting, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here as soon as everybody can hear me and as soon as this poll is done. So, all right, looks like people are entering in information on the polls right now. Thank you so much. We've only got 9 of 21 of you so far who have gone into the poll. If you could go ahead and do that, I'd appreciate that. All right, so almost everyone's done with the poll right now. While we're getting ready to go ahead and get started, I want to make sure to point out to you a couple things right here. We don't have a chat section right now, but we do have the Q&A section. Heather is also on the line with us. She's one of our panelists, someone here on the Trio team. And okay, it looks like we might be having some technical difficulties again. I am so sorry, folks. Give us just 1 second here. Okay, sounds like we're back. So if you have a question, there's the Q&A section right up there. Go ahead and put your question in there. Heather will go ahead and answer that as soon as it's answered. Go ahead and take a look at it there. Now, take a look. It's possible that your question is probably being asked by somebody else as well. So before you ask it again, make sure you go ahead and take a look at some of those questions right there. We're going to try to not stop the Trio training in any sort of way. So obviously, we just had for a technical difficulty, and that would be pretty much the only reason right there. We're going to try to get out of here in just about an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end the polling right now. It looks like we have the majority of everyone in the space today is from Nevada. We have 73% of you are from Nevada today. So welcome to all my fellow Nevadians here. It looks like the majority of you heard about this today from a title agent or a Trio representative. So appreciate you going ahead and joining us today. It looks like 40% of you heard from a title agent or representative. Oh, actually, almost 75% of you. So that's fantastic. Really excited to hear about that. Now, I'm going to talk about Trio just in general. We're going to talk about several different things, but I want to make sure that for my Nevada folks, there are some things that's just a little bit different for you, and I will address that. There's one slide that is specific just for you, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. All right, here's what we're going to cover today. First of all, what is Trio? Trio as a company, and what is the product that Trio is offering to customers? Then we're going to talk about the customers. Who are those Trio customers, right? We're going to talk about the advantages of Trio for those customers, but also the advantages of partnering with Trio as an agent or a lender. And then we're going to talk about how to become a Trio preferred agent or a Trio preferred lender. That's one of the beautiful things about Trio, that everybody kind of wins with Trio, not only the customers, but also as the agent and the lender. So everybody kind of wins in this process here. And then finally, we're going to share with you some marketing options here with Trio to kind of give you kind of a kickstart on what you can do with Trio in terms of marketing with us. And that way you can go ahead and spread the word about a new opportunity and reaching more customers. Okay. So what is Trio exactly? Well, Trio is a company that was formed in 2001. So we're almost 20 years old now. We're very excited about that. We are bridging the gap between renting and owning. Our founder, Daryl Lewis, realized that many renters felt like there were only two options for them. They could either rent a home or they can own a home. Looks like we're getting some questions right now, so that shows me that the audio is working, so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, we're bridging that gap between renting and owning. So for customers that are trying to figure out what are their different options here, we are giving them another option, right? And that's actually how we got our name, Trio. Now that there are a trio of options for customers, there's renting, there's owning, and now there's Trio. We're a very mission oriented company, and our mission is very simple. We believe more people deserve to be homeowners. And what does that mean exactly? Well, we're not trying to be a rental company. Many of our competitors are, in fact, rental companies when they say they're lease to own companies, right? We're not a property management company in any sort of way. We're trying to do everything we can to create homeowners. And we're trying to do that at every step of the way, from being very affordable at the very step of the start of the process with a free application, all the way to gifting the customer the equity built in the home so they can use that towards the down payment when they decide to purchase that home. Additionally, we're also giving them the tools and education so that they can become that homeowner. And we're doing that throughout the lease. So you may have customers that may have some credit issues, or maybe you need to go to some financial counseling, and it's going to be a few more years before they can actually purchase the home. Well, now we've kind of combined that entire process together, right? Because a customer can get into a home now at the price they want now. You're going to get your commission, and while they're in that home, leasing the home, they're going to get that financial coaching and become that homeowner. So that process that used to be several different processes that could take 5 to 6 years, right? Now it's going to take 3 years, but all going to be at the same time with Trio. And that's one of the wonderful things. And because of that process, we're very successful at what we do. We have over a 70% success rate. This means that it means that the customers that come into our program and lease a home with us, over 70% of those customers end up purchasing that home from Trio. Now, I did see a question earlier about our competition. There are some other lease to own options out there, and I will tell you that their success rate is nowhere near this number right here. In fact, it's less than 5%. Right? That's because they're not giving those customers the tools and education like we are. Over 70% of our customers become homeowners at the end of this process. So who are those customers I'm talking about? Well, this is a nice array of different customers we see quite often. One of these might be a recent college graduate. A recent college graduate is a great example right there. That millennial who's starting their career, but they have a very large DTI, and maybe they've just relocated to a new area for a new job, right? They're starting their new life, so they're not quite seasoned enough in that area yet, or they just haven't been with that company long enough yet, right? Well, Trio is going to work with those folks right there. In fact, our youngest customer is 19 years old, right? So it's never too young or old to own your first home right there. Then we have the first time home buyers, the young family right there in the corner, right? I always like to call them the FOBO family. That's the family of the fear of being left out, right? Um, why is that? Well, this is the company that's sprinting towards the finish line to go ahead and become homeowners, right? But they're trying to do it in a 6 month period rather than a longer period of time. And what do I mean by that? Well, I have some friends that just graduated from graduate school. Both of them very excited. They graduated the same month, and they both celebrated by getting new cars for each other, right? She's also pregnant with their first child. And of course, the next step for them is, you guessed it, they want a home. Anytime I call them up and ask to go ahead and do something, what do they say to me? They can't, they're broke, right? And we don't want them to be house poor. We want to make sure that they're set on the right step here and getting them in the right direction here, right? And so with the financial coaching that we're going to be offering, in addition to the lease to own program of Trio, these folks are going to have another opportunity and go ahead and move in the right direction. Then we have the entrepreneur. Now, this one's very specific to several different people, and it's going to be maybe even a little bit more specific to a lot of my Nevada folks here. This is going to be a small business owner, an entrepreneur, independent contractor, or maybe somebody working on a non-traditional income, right? Maybe somebody working on tips, right? Like a Lyft or an Uber driver, or somebody working in the casinos. And I'm specifically reaching out to my Nevada folks here, right? We're going to go ahead and give them the option to go ahead and move into a home with Trio and give them that pathway into that home ownership. We hear so many times that these are folks that cannot get a traditional mortgage, right? For any number of reasons. Well, we're going to go ahead and work with them and get them into that right place. And then we have somebody, what we'd like to call that life happens category, right? This is the category of folks that they are maybe they lost a loved one to an illness. Maybe they were recently divorced. Maybe the path that they thought they were going to be on isn't quite the path that they're on right now, right? Something changed along the way and life happened. Well, we're going to be a great option for those folks. That actually brings me to my story here of Trisha. Trisha fits that last category. She was divorced and she suddenly became the sole breadwinner for her two daughters. So she was a single parent as well. And although the family dynamic was changing, she wanted to make sure she could control a few things and try to give the same life to her daughters as much as she could. And what she wanted to do is make sure that she went ahead and had a home in the same neighborhood where the school was that the girls were attending. That was very important to her. That way they could be in the same school zone, be in the same schools, same teachers, same friends, same activities, and the same network, right? That's going to be really important. So she decided to lease a home with Trio. And she actually went through Trio and she did it in 3 different ways. And I kind of want to share those with you right here. Now, because of her divorce, her credit was hurt badly and she had no savings. And that's why she decided to use Trio, right? So the first time she used Trio, she leased with us. Our leases are going to be 3 years long, okay? Now, despite being 3 years, our customers can go ahead and purchase a home at any time throughout that process. So that's really important to remember right there, okay? So throughout this 3-year process, we're giving her the financial coaching. Our customers are getting 24 months of financial coaching in order for them to become mortgage ready and go ahead and either assume the mortgage on top of this home or go ahead and purchase this home using a conventional or VA loan. So at the end of those 3 years, Trisha wasn't quite mortgage ready yet, unfortunately. She had a very steep hill to climb, but she was doing great work. She wanted this home. And so we decided to work with her and we extended that lease. And that's something we can go ahead and do. We extended that lease for 2 more years. So at the end of those 5 years, the original 3 plus the extended 2, Trisha was mortgage ready and she was ready to purchase that home. And that's the 3rd time she worked with Trio. And that was when she decided to go ahead and purchase that home from Trio. Now, Trisha is a great example of the process right there. We're working with people, we're not only at the very beginning, but also in the middle of the process, right? We see the work that they're doing is good. We're going to go ahead and extend that lease for them. And she writes something really nice here. She writes, Trio is for real people, no gimmicks, no hidden agendas. I want to do anything I can to ease someone's mind about using Trio since it's a new concept for people. She really sums it up nicely there. It's a new concept for people. Remember, most renters feel like that there's only 2 options for them. There's renting or there's purchasing a home. But now there's Trio of options, right? There's that 3rd option. That's Trio, and that's a lease to own option with Trio. So let's break down Trio a little bit more specifically. Trio is homeownership financing using a lease with an option to purchase and coupled with an assumable FHA mortgage. So let's break that down. Trio is homeownership financing. It's another tool for you. We're a financing company that offers another tool for you to go ahead and help you go ahead and sell a home to a customer. Specifically, we're a lease with an option to purchase. Again, we're a very mission-oriented company. We want to make sure that that customer realizes that every lease that we have has that option to purchase, because that's where we want to get them. We want to get them to home ownership, right? And so we're offering that lease, always going to be having that option to purchase. And then what makes us a little bit more unique is that option to purchase is coupled with an assumable FHA mortgage. Why is that? Well, we're HUD approved, and we're working with government entities in each of the states that we're located in to go ahead and be able to offer this assumable FHA mortgage. And why the FHA mortgage, and why this? Well, this FHA mortgage is going to be at a 5.0% interest rate. And what does that mean? Well, it means that, let's say a customer goes ahead and leases a home from Trio right now, and then in 3 years they're ready to go ahead and purchase, but the interest rate's at 7 or 8%, really high, right? Well, the customer is safe here because they can go ahead and assume this FHA mortgage at 5.0%. So it's a safety net for them. It's giving them another option. However, we do have customers all the time that can get better interest rates, right? Or they can get a different option. We have work with a lot of different military folks. They can get a VA loan, a conventional loan, an FHA, whatever's going to be better for them at the interest rate that's going to be best for them. This is just a safety blanket just in case something happens to the market a little bit later on and the interest rate's a little bit out of hand, right? So this gives that customer another option. If you've ever leased a car before, Trio's lease to own program is going to sound exactly the same. That's because it was modeled after a traditional car lease. One of the most important things for us is that that customer selects the home of their choice. And that means working with an agent. That's really important for us. Again, we want to make sure everyone's winning in this process right here, right? So what does that mean? We want to make sure that the agent is working with that customer and selecting the right home for that customer in the right neighborhood that's going to fit their family's needs. So it's really important that that customer goes ahead and selects the home of their choice. That's really important. There are going to be some low upfront costs. These aren't necessarily closing costs or down payment or anything like that. That's one of the nice things. We don't have any sort of down payment required to go ahead and get. These low upfront costs are going to be very comparable to that of renting, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. Fixed monthly payments. This is one of my favorite things because I'm a big budget guy. I believe in budgets. I believe in thinking a little bit more long term, and I believe in savings, and that's always one important thing right there. And if a customer is renting, one thing they often complain about is that they don't have an opportunity to save very often. And why is that? Well, that's because they're in a 12-month cycle, right? That means every 12 months they need to make that decision. Am I going to stay in this place? Are they going to raise the rent, or am I going to move? And if they're going to move, they're really then working kind of in this like 11 to 10 month cycle, right? Because they've got to save up enough money to go ahead and move, which can be expensive, as well as putting down roots in a new apartment somewhere, right? And putting down any sort of closing costs there. So it's a very expensive process. But with Trio's lease to own program, we are offering a fixed monthly payment. That means every month, every payment throughout the 3-year lease is now going to be fixed. It's not going to go up year to year like your rent can go up, right? So that's something to always kind of remember right there. Plus, it allows that customer to start thinking a little bit more long term. This is a long-term advantage, right? Not only for the customer thinking in the 3 years, right? But now they're going to start thinking in maybe 10 to 30 years, right? Because they're going to want to go ahead and purchase this home. So it's really a long-term solution, and that really kind of starts with that fixed monthly payments. Again, it allows that customer to start thinking a little bit more long-term, break them of that 12-month cycle, and lo and behold, start saving money, which is what we want them to start doing, right? And then finally, Trio's Lease to Own program does offer 4 unique options that you can't get with renting or other programs. The first one is very unique to renting, and that's moving on, right? At the end of the lease, if the customer doesn't like what's going on, if they're thinking like, you know what, this isn't the right house for me, this isn't the right neighborhood, blah, 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 they can go ahead and just move on. It's very simple. They also have the opportunity to extend that lease. We already talked about Trisha, right? That's a great example right there. You get to go ahead and extend that lease. If we see that you're doing good work, this is the house you want, but you have just a little bit more of a hill to climb, we'll go ahead and work with you and can extend that lease for 2 more years for a total of 5. We can also exchange that home for a different Trio home. Sounds like an odd thing. Why would I want to exchange my home for a different Trio home? Well, we have a lot of customers that actually this works great for them. And why is that? Well, we have a lot of military folks, right? Maybe their orders change and they need to move cities, states, cross country, right? Might give you that option right there. We have a lot of folks that relocate, but maybe your family dynamic has changed a little bit, right? Maybe a life happens situation has happened. Maybe somebody has moved out. Maybe you're having a baby and that house needs to be a little bit bigger. Whatever the reason, it's giving you that option to go ahead and figure out, is this the right home for me? Is this the right size home for me? Is this the right neighborhood for me, right? Gives you that option right there. And then finally, there's the last option, which we like to think of as the best option, and that's that customer can purchase that home, right? We're giving them that option to purchase. And remember, even though it's a 3-year lease, they do not need to wait till the end of those 3 years to go ahead and buy. They can purchase that home at any time. Now, if you're taking pictures of any slides, I hope you take a picture of this one right here, because this one right here has all the great talking points when you're talking to a customer. The first one, no down payment is required. This is a fantastic option, right? How many times can you get into a home and purchase it, but there's no down payment required? So this is a great option for you right here. Second, we've locked in the interest rate for 30 years. Again, this is attached to that assumable FHA mortgage. It's going to be locked in at 5.0%. That's locked in for 30 years. We've also, and these next two I think are coupled together, and I think they're great. We've locked in the purchase price for 5 years. So if you've worked with other lease-owned companies, you know that they raise the lease payment 5% each year, essentially making it so that that customer can't purchase that home, right? That's why their success rate is so low. Well, we've locked in the purchase rate for 5 years. So if that customer is in that home for our lease, and then even if they decide to extend it, that purchase price is still locked in. And what's it locked in at? It's going to be 1% over cost of the home. So again, 1% over cost of the home. So if that home is, let's say at the time of the lease, it's a $300,000 home, it's not going to be more than 303 for that customer, right? And that customer knows this at the start of the lease, so there's no funny games or anything like that. They know right away that that's what they're working towards right there, and that's a great thing. And they can rest easy knowing that there's no it's not going to increase in any sort of way between those 3 and 5 years, right? The next one, the customer built equity during the lease. This is huge. What does that mean? Well, that $300,000 home, let's say it appreciates to 350 or 360 or above, right? That equity is going to be gifted to the customer when they decide to purchase that home, and they can use that towards the down payment and the closing costs. So if you have a customer, a renter out there that you know would love to buy a home, but what do they tell you? They don't have a down payment, right? You hear that all the time. Well, now they can actually do this through Trio. They can get into the home that they want now at the affordable price that they want now and not worrying about it appreciating. And if it appreciates, they're only going to build wealth with that they can use towards the down payment. So it's a great option for customers. We're trying to make this as affordable as possible. Now, during the lease, I had mentioned earlier, we're giving customers the right tools to go ahead and get towards home ownership, right? And that's Trio Success Program. What is that? That is our 24 months of free financial coaching that we're giving to the customer because we want them to succeed in our program. And that's one of the main reasons why we're so successful, right? Remember, 70% of the people that come into Trio's program become homeowners of those particular homes. Okay. Now, if that customer decides to purchase that home, we're going to gift them an additional 12 months of financial coaching. That way, we're sending them off on the right foot. Trio's home care program. This kind of came out of necessity, but this is teaching folks how to go ahead and maintain their investment and how to go ahead and essentially learn all the ins and outs of their new toy that they're investing in, right? Majority of our customers are going to be coming from an apartment, so they don't know necessarily how to shut off the water in their house, how to shut off the gas, that their HVAC system needs to be maintained once a year, right? That they need to change the filter in their HVAC system, things like that. That's what this is about. This is teaching them how to maintain their home. Additionally, another layer of this home care program is that all our appliances are coming with a home warranty from Fidelity National Home Warranty. So it gives them that option right there, another way to go ahead and maintain their home and their investment. So again, these are the Trio advantages right here for the customer. We've thought of everything. It's taken us 20 years we've been in business, and we've definitely thought of everything right here so that customer can become successful and become that homeowner. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is a very, very simple simple graph right here, and it's based on our tagline. There's renting, there's owning, and now there's Trio. Okay, so this is based on a $200,000 home. So if a customer was looking at a $200,000 home, should I rent it? Should I own it? Should I use Trio? Right. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this right here. The required cash to close for that home, you're looking at around $2,600 right there. Okay. How do we get that? Well, you're looking at first and last month's rent. Very simple right there, right? Now, that's a wonderful thing right there for a customer. It's a very low upfront cost to go ahead and get into a home if they're wanting to go ahead and rent it. But renting does have disadvantages, right? We know no equity is earned during this process, and we also know that there is no fixed monthly payment. And we also know, hint, hint, that the rent will probably go up, right? And so those are huge disadvantages with renting. Renting is a short-term solution, right? And we want to help people get out of that short-term solution, that for folks that this has become a long-term solution for them, right? That second option in the middle there, owning. This is where we obviously want to get our customers, right? The required cash to close is going to be around $20,000. That's a minimum right there. Now, if they're going to want to go with a conventional loan and go ahead and put 20% down, you're really looking at $50,000 to $60,000, right? So that's one huge disadvantage with owning. There's a huge entry fee, right? But owning does have the long-term advantages. You're going to earn equity in the home, and they know that there's going to be a fixed monthly payment throughout the process. So it does give that customer all those advantages right there. Now, Trio takes the best parts of renting and the best parts of owning, okay? As you can see here, the required cash to close is $3,505. And before you ask Heather, I'm going to break it down for you here in just a second, okay? As you can see, it's very close to the amount of renting and nowhere near the initiation fee of owning a home. Is there equity built in the home? Yes. Trio customers are going to earn equity, and that's a huge advantage right there. And then there's a fixed monthly payment. That's another advantage, right? So they can start thinking long-term and start saving, which we want them to do. Now let's go ahead and break down that 3505. Okay, now this is the part we're taking from renting. The required cash to close for a customer using Trio for the required cash, for any sort of closing process, there's going to be that inception fee of 1% of the Trio home price. So this is a $200,000 home. You're looking at $2,000 right here. Okay. There is an underwriting and document preparation fee of $655. There is a Trio Success Program contribution of $455. I should let you know that right there, how that is figured out, that Success Program contribution, for every $100,000 of the home. So if the home was $300,000, you would need to add on another $225. Okay, so just so you're aware right there. So that if this was a $300,000 home, you would be looking at $675 for that Trio Success Program contribution. Okay, and again, for higher amounts, obviously, for every 100,000, add an additional $225. Then we have the Healthy Home Fee of $400. So that's it right there. So for this home right here of $200,000, you're looking at a 1% inception plus around $1,500, right? But if you look down there at the bottom, that Healthy Home Fee, excuse me, I'm so sorry. we've waived that $400 right there if that customer is using a Trio preferred agent. This means somebody that has gone ahead and gone through the training like today, studied on the website, taken the test, passed the test, right? We're going to go ahead and waive $400 off their closing costs. So that means that $3,505 is actually $3,105, right? So it's a $500 difference for that customer to either rent the home or use Trio and have the option to purchase that home, right? Huge advantage right there. Again, we're taking the best parts of renting and the best parts of owning, but we're now making it affordable for that customer, right? So again, only a $500 difference for that customer to either rent that place or to go ahead and move in that home with Trio and have the option to purchase that home down the road. This is looking at that same $200,000 home, looking how that home can appreciate. Remember, that customer is going to earn equity throughout the lease, okay? So a home right now is just on average appreciating around $15,000 a year. This is what we're told by everybody in the US. Now, obviously, some neighborhoods are going to be a little bit higher or lower than other neighborhoods, right? So that $200,000 home at the end of 3 years is going to be valued at $245,000. But remember, the Trio purchase price is always going to be 1% over cost. So it's going to be $202,000 right there. And then finally, that equity earned in the home, this customer is earning over $40,000 in equity that they can now use towards the down payment and the closing costs when they decide to purchase that home. So for that customer that did not have any sort of equity before, or excuse me, any sort of down payment before, suddenly they have 20% down, right? They're ready to go and go ahead and purchase this home. So this is the Trio advantage right here, really working well. Again, my apologies. This is a great recent success story. This is a home that is a brand new build, and it was leased by someone who's retired military who's now a first responder, and that's really important to note here. It was a really cool home. It was brand new, solar panels, a lot of automation, really cool home. And at this particular neighborhood right here, the FHA loan limit in this particular neighborhood, I think it was 525. So they were very close to that right there, right, with the 508. And as you can see, the number of Trio lease payments was only 23. So if you did some quick math, you realize they weren't there for even 2 years, right? And why is that? Well, this particular family needed a little bit of help with their credit, and they needed a little bit more down payment, a little bit more savings for their down payment, right? And they got it, and they did that by using Trio. So let me show you how. The appraised value of that home 23 months later was $570,000, which means that customer earned $56,000 in equity in this home. They used 100% of that towards the down payment, right? They just needed a little bit more time. And remember, the home price, we're not going to charge more than 1% over cost of that home. So if you look right there, that Trio option price of purchase was almost $514,000, right? Again, 1% over cost of that home. Not the appraised value, but we're offering it to them. So this is another great example right here, customer really succeeding. Now, because this person was former military, they did not assume the FHA loan. They went ahead and used a VA loan for this particular home. So congratulations to these folks right here. Now, what are the qualifications for a customer to get into the home? Before you write these down or before you take a screenshot or anything, just so you know, this is on our website in about 5 different places. We don't try to hide this. We want to make sure everybody knows this, okay? We ask for a credit score of 580 plus. We ask for housing history, positive housing history of 24 months or more. We're asking for a household income of $3,600 or more a month. We're asking for 2+ months of savings. We're asking for a maximum debt to income ratio of 50%, which is very generous right there. And then there's that good rule of thumb just to make sure that somebody doesn't become house poor throughout this process. We're not trying to do that. We want them to be good financiers here, right, and good homeowners. So no more than 1/3 of the household income should go towards that lease purchase, right? So that's really important right there, that monthly lease payment. So looking at these numbers right here, obviously these are very close to an FHA number right here. we get asked, well, why these numbers? How did we get these numbers or anything like that? Again, we've been in business for about 20 years. We're very knowledgeable about what's going to help. These are going to be great stepping stones for someone to go ahead and become successful in our program. And again, over 70% of the folks that go through our program become successful and end up purchasing that home. So this is a number that we know is growing. That 70% is definitely growing. But these are the great numbers right here for that customer to go ahead and get started on this. A couple things to point out, that credit score right there, the 580 plus. There's the majority of our applications that are coming in right now are actually a much higher credit score, closer to 660 to 680 range right there. So this kind of shows you maybe the customer that might be coming to Trio might already be ready to go ahead and purchase a home, but they don't have that down payment. So they're using Trio to go ahead and use that and build that wealth and to gain that down payment on a home. The other thing I want to point out is the savings at 2+ months. We're really looking for a minimum of $4,000 right there to kind of cover everything, okay? And because of that, we're just wanting, it's going to be a minimum of $4,000. Now that $4,000 can be gifted, so that's something to kind of think about right there. All right, Trio Friendly Homes. What kind of home can a customer get? Well, they can get single family homes, a condo, or a townhome. I did see a question there about a condo. Just needs to be an FHA approved condo. We prefer newly constructed or substantially renovated within the last 10 years. We just want to make sure we're not putting the customer in a home that's going to need constant repairs, right? If that's happening, they're probably not going to want to go ahead and purchase it, right? But we are now doing home renovations through a FHA 203K loan. Okay, so that's important to remember right there. So we have homes that are as old as 60 years old. We have homes that are being built right now. So a lot of different options for customers right there. No matter what, that home needs to pass inspection. And again, we're using an FHA loan, so it's a traditional FHA loan inspection. A couple things to kind of remember that home needs to be, when you're looking for that home, there is no income limitation here, but there isn't limitation based on the FHA loan limit. And I often get asked, well, what is it? What is the FHA loan limit? Well, it's different from county to county. So you're going to know your county, obviously, and that's going to be really important right here for us to just kind of figure out. Just go to FHA.com, or if you go to FHA.gov or anything like that, they'll go ahead and show you what it is in that particular county where you're at. It gives you that option. Now, let's say I know, for example, in Nevada, down there in Clark County, it's $322,000. We'll go ahead and match 103% of that. So that means that it'll be around 330, 331, something like that, that a customer can go ahead and look for a home. One thing to kind of keep in mind about that is that if a customer finds a home, let's say, that's $400,000, well, they just need to come up with that difference in money right there for them to go ahead and purchase that home. We do have quite a few customers where that is very possible for them to do. They might be a small business owner. They can't get the traditional mortgage, but they want to go ahead and get something that maybe a little bit nicer, and so they go ahead and pay that difference right there. Speaking of which, let's see, located within one of our approved markets. Let's go ahead and take a look at our poll right here. If you can, go ahead and click on the poll and go ahead and I see there's about 10 of you that still haven't voted yet. So if you can go ahead and vote, I'm going to go ahead and end the polling here in just a second. Again, the majority of our folks in the chat right now are in Nevada. So what areas are we located in? Well, it's these areas located right here in the poll. There's California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and next month, Colorado. And pretty soon we'll be working in some other ones as well. So quite a few different places that we do offer Trio. So we're very proud of that. So let's go ahead and end the polling. A couple more people are voting right now. Oh, a couple more Nevada people. So looks like 80% of you are from Nevada today. So welcome to all my Nevada folks. Now, to my Nevada folks, this is specifically for you, California, Texas, Arizona. Everybody close their ears. You don't need to listen to this. We're using Nevada Rural Housing Authority. They've partnered with us on Trio, and they're the ones that have brought us to the state of Nevada. So if you're familiar with Home at Last, which I'm sure you are if you're in the state of Nevada and you're a real estate agent, then you'll know what I'm talking about right here. There's a specific web address that I want to make sure that you write down and you go to. It's halmap.org right there at the top. Okay, halmap.org. And why is that? Well, there's one thing I do want to point out to you right there. Halmap.org is really important for a couple different reasons. Okay. This is going to show you which areas are allowed in the state of Nevada. Now, unlike California, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and Colorado, where real estate agents can show a house to any customer in those areas, it's a little bit different for Nevada. Because of the word rural, we're kind of limited to some of the places that we can show customers homes, okay? And so take a look at the map. It's really looking at Washoe County and Clark County, where it's just a little bit different. So in the Las Vegas and Reno areas, okay? If you type in an address, it'll go ahead and pull up the map and letting you know if that house is eligible for Trio and Home at Last or not. And it will also show you the other specific areas that are available, okay? So just want to make sure that you are aware of that. We are told by the end of this year that we are supposed to get the rest of Nevada available to us with Home at Last and with Trio. But for the time being, we are limited to about 80% or 90% of Nevada. So let's go ahead. When does a customer know that they're ready to lease? Well, first things first, Trio is a long-term commitment, right? That's really important to remember right there. Trio is a long-term commitment, not only because it's more than 12 months, it's a 3-year lease, but it's really a 10 to 30-year commitment. Remember that want to remind that customer that no down payment is required. We do have the low upfront cost, but we're not looking for anything near what a down payment would be. The purchase option is always going to be include them. Remind them that we are a mission-oriented company. We've locked in the purchase price for 5 years. And that's really important. Remember, that's 1% over cost of that home. And that customer is going to build equity during the lease. And then finally, just remind them that during the lease, we're giving them the tools and education to know how to play with their new toy, but also how to be successful and be able to be purchasing that new toy, right? So giving them a lot of different options right there. Now, something I do want to point out to you, please be mindful of any sort of HOA dues or property taxes. These are the only things that can kind of, I guess, that fixed monthly payment that can fluctuate that slightly in either direction, right? I just recently moved from a home that had a very high HOA, and I'm very happy to leave that because of that. So just be mindful when you're showing customers new homes, if a home has more bells and whistles, then more than likely that HOA is probably going to be a lot higher. So when is that customer ready to buy? Well, couple things to remember right there. They just need to notify Trio that they're ready to go ahead and purchase. They can go ahead and complete their mortgage readiness evaluation. And then a lender will review with them all their different options. Remember, they can assume that FHA that loan if they'd like to, if that's the best rate they can get, or if they can get a better rate, they're more than happy to go ahead and get whatever's going to be best for them. And then finally, just remind them that they're going to, any equity earned in the home that they can use towards the down payment and the closing costs. So a customer may stay in that home all 3 years, and they might do that because if that neighborhood's hot and then the house is hot, I mean, if it's appreciating equity, they may want to stay in a little bit longer, right? That's going to be a huge advantage for them right there, especially because they know that their home price is not going to go up throughout that period. So it does give them that option right there and that advantage. Now, the last advantage, which isn't really a financial one, well, I guess it can be, is that that customer doesn't need to move again. Again, I just moved. It's a hassle. Nobody wants to do it, right? It's like a 2 or 3 month process, it feels like sometimes. And it's just a lot of extra work, right? It's also an expensive venture, right? If you get a moving company or if you have to go somewhere else and put some down payment down somewhere else, right? So there's no need for that customer to move again. And I'm going to share this with you, and it's because customers often ask us this question all the time, and please don't laugh, but there is no sign out front that says this home is leased by Trio or this is a Trio leased home or anything like that. We really respect our customers' privacy, but we do get this question quite often, and so that's why I'm bringing it up, okay? We really respect their privacy. When they move into the home, everyone in the neighborhood has assumed that they've purchased that home and that they're the homeowner, right? And nothing really changes for them when they're moving out of that lease into home ownership, right? Just who they're paying and how they're doing that payment, that's the only thing that's different, right? Nothing has changed for them. They don't need to move. The house doesn't have a sign out front and then a sign taken away or anything like that. There's no need for them to move again. So it's really a relaxing, easy experience for that customer. So we have two websites. This is our customer website, and this is the one that you'll see on a lot of our brochures, okay? Thinktrio.com. There's a lot of videos on here, a lot of explainer videos. I have a lot of agents that love those videos. They send them to their customers to look at, and this is a very friendly website for customers, and it's intended for customers so they can ask any sort of frequently asked questions. Just, I have this particular situation. Where can I lease a home? Things of that nature, okay? If you have a customer that wants to go ahead and apply, we do have the application button that's in the top right-hand corner, okay? We also have the resume application button that's right below it, just in case they need to go back and gather a few more materials before they can apply. But what I would recommend for you is this. We do have on this main web page right here, we do have a self-assessment test. I would ask that you ask your customers to go ahead and do it, or go ahead and sit down with your customer and do it with them. 6 simple questions that are essentially asking, are they meeting the minimum qualifications? Are they going to be a good candidate for TRIA, right? And if they're being honest with themselves about their credit score and everything else, then if they pass that test, then move on to the application, right? It's going to be a lot easier for you right there. So it's like a little pre-test just to make sure that they're working out okay and that you're not wasting your time or their time. Now we have a different website, so I want to make sure you write this one down.